I've never seen a tyre roll like this.
Oh my goodness.
Ooh, that's nuts. G'day guys, so we're out here in the Lancelin Sand Dunes. I got my mate Jonesy here with me.
Hello guys, hello YouTube.
Today we're talking about tyre pressures because a lot of people seem to be really scared about dropping their tyres too low. They just feel like if they go below 18 psi, they're gonna pop a bead or wreck their tyres. So today we're pretty much gonna keep dropping the tyre pressures until we pop a bead to show you guys how low you can actually go with them. So I've got these tyres here, they're like bog stock standard tyres that you'd pretty much drive the vehicle out of the dealership with. So they're the perfect tyres for this test because a lot of people, if they only go forward driving a couple of times a year, you know, they'd have tyres like that. So let's just quickly go over why you want to drop your tyres. A lot of people know this, but then some people who are new to forward driving might not know this. You drop them for a number of reasons. Firstly, it gives you a bigger footprint, which means you have more traction, which means that your car's going to be so much more capable than if you left them hard. The second reason is it pretty much, because you have more traction, you're not going to tear up the tracks as much, which is really good because I just find it really frustrating when you're following someone and they have hard tyres and it just chops up the tracks and just makes it really, really annoying. And the third point is that it's going to be a lot easier on the car. The suspension doesn't have to work as hard, your engine doesn't have to work as hard, and the ride's going to be more comfortable for you as well. Now admittedly, the lower you go, the longer it takes to pump them back up, but you know what, for that extra couple of minutes, it's worth it. Alright, let's air down the tyres and go into the sand dunes, find a spot to do this test.
Can't wait.
Man, it's bright without the glasses on. Alrighty guys, so we found a nice little flat patch and we've put out some cones and made a bit of a figure-8 track, so that way we can virtually go around 2 different corners, 2 different ways, give us the best possible chance of breaking a bead. I think Ruben's a bit concerned about my driving.
Yep.
Wearing yellow, high vis.
Got to keep the comments section happy, you know. Got safety first, fellas.
That's it guys. Alrighty, so tyres are at 15 psi, that's what we dropped them to, so we're just gonna virtually give that a whirl, even though I've already done that. But anyway, let's do it again. Alrighty guys, so 15 psi as expected, nothing happened. We're gonna drop down to 12 psi now, do the exact same thing and see what happens then. Let's do it. Alright, 12 psi, let's see how we go. It doesn't look like they're going to come off, so let's go down to 10. That was 10 psi.
It still didn't come off.
Still didn't come off. Down to 8 we go. 8 psi. Let's see how this goes. Oh no, bro! I broke my car!
Oh, bro!
This is why you look both ways before crossing the road, kids. It's dangerous. Can't believe I wrecked a cone. Looks like we might be going down to 6. That tyre's got some serious bulge happening there. Far out. Alrighty guys, 6 psi. Maybe this is the one. Are all the tyres still on?
Yeah, all the tyres are on, mate. We might have to find a new test track.
What are we going to do here? The gauge is going to start reading, mate. Alrighty guys, so I went to drop the tyres to, hang on, what were we at?
6.
We're at 6. So I went to drop the tyres again, we're at 6 PSI, and this tyre pretty much had no air reading at all, like there was no pressure in it whatsoever. Stopped the car and you can actually hear the air coming out of that tyre. So what's obviously happened is it hasn't come completely off the bead, but it's been pushed off the bead, a bit of sand and dirt's got in between the bead. So the bead is virtually the tyre and the rim, the sealing surface between the two. So some dirt's got in there, so pretty much that's why the air's coming out. So there you go guys, we managed to go all the way down to 6 PSI without any problems pretty much until we got super low and now it's come off. So now we got to fix this tyre, so what we're going to have to do is take it off and try and clean the bead and try and get some air back into it. So let's do it.
Yeah.
There's definitely some rubbish in the bead, but the bead's not actually off the tyre, which is actually a bad thing in our case. So what I'm pretty much going to have to do is take this wheel off, break the bead, clean the bead, and then try and reseat it. So pretty much got to take the wheel off and I'll show you guys how I'm going to break the bead. Alrighty guys, so I've just got the max tracks under the bash plates here, and I'm going to drop the car onto them because I only really got one jack. I mean, I've got the factory jack, but it's not great, and I'm going to need the jack to break the bead completely. So, but we can always dig the hole a little bit more down if we need to get the tyre back on a bit later. That's the awesome thing about sand. It gets in everything, but it's not all bad. That is one flat tyre.
Far out.
Look at it.
It's concave on the bottom, look at it.
Oh man.
Gotta earn your keep, mate.
I've never seen a tyre roll like this. So to break the bead, what you pretty much got to do is just use the jack and just keep going until it just pops right off the rim.
That's it.
There. So when you hear that noise, you know it's off. So as you can see, the bead is completely broken now. So now pretty much what you want to do is use whatever you got to try and clean out the bead. And so as I said before, the bead is pretty much the sealing surface between the rim and the tyre. So I've got this random paintbrush here, so I'm just gonna use that. Try and get all the sand out of there. It's pretty hard because the sand's constantly blowing around, but do the best you can. What's gonna cause a leak is pretty much if you have any foreign objects in between the rim and the tyre, that's where it's gonna leak. Man, the wind's just
Flying it straight back in.
I'm gonna have to go on the other side of the car. Alrighty guys, so I've cleaned out the bead as best as I can. If you got rags, use anything you can pretty much. And then after that, the next step is pretty much get your deodorant out. Now I find that Lynx works the best at keeping you smelling good. And it's also great for tyres as well. So pretty much what you want to do is you get your can of deodorant, Lynx, and then you get your lighter. And what you want to do is fill up the inside of the tyre with the deodorant. So you don't want to put too much so it's completely like over the top. You just want enough. And obviously you're causing a little explosion inside the tyre, so you want to be careful as well. Do you mind if I actually get you to give me a hand with this?
Yeah, dude, yeah.
Thanks. What's that? Oh, dang it!
Oh. Take two.
It's all right.
Oh, we have a winner.
I think that might have stuffed it. I don't know.
No,
It looks like it's on.
the bead is on. It just needs inflating, I think.
Yeah, so now we're just trying to inflate it. Now you want to be very careful when you try and light it. Make sure your fingers aren't anywhere near the bead, because this could happen to your fingers. The top of the lighter actually got caught in the very edge of the bead. Alrighty guys, so hopefully we've seated all the bead. We're just going to try airing up now and we'll see if the pressure stays in there. Alrighty, so we just tried to inflate the tyre and everything went really, really well. It popped back into shape, and so far I can't hear any air leaks besides the air compressor, of course. But if you're not sure, if you got any soap and water, it's a great idea just to put that all around the bead, the sealing surface, and if you see any leaks, you'll see bubbles. But I'm pretty happy with that, so let's get it back on the tyre. I mean, on the car, you know what I mean?
Like a glove.
Would you be able to get the wheel nuts?
Yeah, sure.
They're on the driver's seat.
Okay.
Thanks, bro. Alrighty guys, so there you go. That's how you reseat a bead if you ever do take one off. So every tyre is a little bit different. You can see this tyre here, it's at 6 PSI now and it's bulging just way too much. So you can tell that this tyre should be at a bit higher pressure on the sand. So you don't want too much of a bulge. You want to have a nice little bulge in your sidewall, but not massive. So this tyre was pretty comfortable at about 12 PSI. Now my tyres that I normally run, they're mud terrain tyres and they have a very thick sidewall, so you don't actually see a bulge at all until you get to around 10 PSI. So normally at 10 PSI you can run them happily and they will never come off the bead. These tyres here, you probably want to have them a little bit higher, so maybe 12 to 14 PSI. But that being said, we ran it all the way down to 6 before we actually managed to pop a bead off. So every tyre is different. It depends on your load and how aggressive your driving is. If you like going fast around corners, you're going to throw a bead a lot easier than if you're a bit more subtle. What's a good word?
Or even your terrain as well, you know.
Even your terrain, because generally what's going to cause the bead to come off is going fast around tight corners and hitting a bank, or if you just hit roots or rocks or anything like that. Anything that causes the sidewall to get pushed up from the side is going to cause the bead to come off. So always be careful with stuff like that. Now if you are in an emergency situation and the tide's coming in and your car's right up, like you got water lapping up at your wheels, you know what, just drop your tires to like 6 PSI, because you know you're going to have ultimate traction and you got the best chance of getting your car out of that situation. But other than that, what's the ideal pressure to stick around at? Well, personally, I'd say aim for somewhere between 15 and 10 PSI. That's a pretty good range for most cars. But that being said, if your car has 17-inch rims or 18-inch rims and you've got a tyre that's only, say, a 31-inch tyre, you're going to have not very much rubber to let down there at all. So you pretty much don't want to go too low with them at all. And in fact, you know what? Go get yourself another set of rims and tyres if you like forward driving, because they're just not really great forward drive tyres because you just got no rubber to let out really. But anyway, let's go into the sand dunes and do a bit of exploring. Ruben's just going to get a sandboard, see if we can have a bit of fun.
You even got me a candle if the lights go out.
Oh, what a legend.
Man, I need to lose some weight.
Awesome fun for 10 bucks. Alrighty guys, so how low can you go? Well, pretty much we got to 6 PSI before we popped a bead. But after we got the tires back on the car and everything was sorted out, the bead was fixed, we managed to go 6 PSI through the whole dunes without any dramas at all. So generally what will make the bead go off is if you go a tight corner and you have a bit of speed and there's a root or a rock or something to push the sidewall up in. So that's the only time when the tyre can really pop the bead. But other than that, if you take it easy. Now, I'm not saying that you should go down this low unless you're in an emergency situation, but it just shows how you got nothing to worry about going around 12 PSI. 12 PSI is a really good pressure on the on the beach, on the sand dunes, on sand tracks. But you got to figure out what works for your car, because like I mentioned, if you got 17-inch rims or 18-inch rims, you just don't have the rubber to allow you to go that low. So obviously every car is different, but I just wanted to show you guys how low you can actually go with virtually stock standard tires that this car would come out of the dealership with. So there you go. And another thing, guys, please do deflate your tires, because it just saves the tracks from getting so cut up and making them so much more annoying to go down with all the little bumps and corrugations. So there you go, guys. Hope you guys learned something today, and we'll catch you guys in another video. Thanks for watching.
That's so fast!
Seek adventure!